And we are here at the stadium for the International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction. And we are joined by one of the key stakeholders and partners for this seminar, Old Mutual, who are also part of this initiative to ensure disaster resilience and preparedness. The aim is to fund resilience and not disasters. Joining us for this crucial conversation around disaster risk reduction and preparedness, we are joined by the Senior Manager in the Old Mutual Foundation, Mr. Khotso Tsotsotso, and we'll be talking about anything preparedness and disaster resilience. Thank you so much, sir, for joining this conversation. We are appreciative of your input. Just a question, what informed this partnership and what has encouraged Old Mutual to fall part of these conversations around disaster risk reduction and preparedness?
Well, thank you for that question, Snare. You see, Old Mutual as an insurance company cares deeply about ensuring positive futures for our communities. We are very clear also that disasters can be completely destructive as we work towards those positive futures. The nature of disasters are such that people can lose their livelihood, and worse, people can lose their lives. But we need to be very honest to ourselves and to our communities as well, in that when a disaster hits, it also affects business directly, right? And as an insurance company, the first point of call becomes us, essentially. So for years, particularly intensified it since 2022, Old Mutual has always been one of the first few responders when a disaster hits, with the key to try and help those that are affected by disasters to bridge that disruptive period in many different ways, whether it's food, whether it's supplies for life to continue generally. And while we do this, and of course we do this in partnership, and we try to understand what happens when such a time comes in our communities, we realize also that our municipalities were not necessarily ready or prepared to manage these disasters. And so in 2023, for instance, we did a food security assessment and a disaster risk assessment. It is then where we realized that there's such a huge gap for disaster risk reduction as opposed to just responding when a disaster actually hits. And this is particularly how we got into this partnership.
Just another question, how can the partnership between public and private be leveraged to ensure that we're able to reach a point of disaster resilience and preparedness for our communities, for our businesses, and at a larger scale for our economy?
Brilliant question again. Well, firstly, disaster is everyone's business. I think that is just the reality and the truth of it. Secondly, disasters are so complex that not a single entity can be able to make any change or bring about any impact on their own. For the aspects of disasters that affect a business like ours, for instance, there's so many confounding factors that we need to reckon with, that some of which have very little to do with us. For instance, the community awareness affects how we are affected by disasters. The work of the municipality themselves, the infrastructure maintenance, the special planning that happens in our towns. These are aspects of what eventually affect disasters that have very little to do with the company. And so from that logic, it only makes sense that as a company, we look out for collaborations. We look out for others who affect other aspects that we cannot, so that together we bring our resources to actually bring about differences in our community, right? So there are many ways that private and public sector can work together. So once you've established that rationale that everyone needs to do something about this. So one, just through the philanthropic work that the different corporates actually do, we can direct our resources a lot more strategically in a way that builds every year. So running away from this idea that you can enter a space, do a once-off intervention and go away. It doesn't work. So you need to co-plan, you need to co-deliver with others in the space. That's the first one. But then there's the general behavior of corporates that disaster planning, disaster or reduction behavior around the way we do business should be invested in. And so the way we build buildings, how we train our staff. And finally, in our products. There are products, particularly for insurance companies, that are critical for disaster preparedness. I'll make an example. One cannot possibly be fully prepared if one is not financially prepared for disaster. You have to bounce back. So it's important that we all play our role. So you can almost see that while the government and the municipality ensure the environment for disaster management, certainly there's a role for private sector to enhance the work that they do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tsotsotso, for joining us on impactful conversations around partnerships between the public and the private. Your insights were very much impactful. Thank you so much. That's it from this side with Mr. Tsotsotso around the partnership between public and private around disaster resilience and preparedness. Remember, the aim is to fund resilience and not disasters. Thank you so much. Until next time.